Okay, so imagine for a second. You have a single master key. Just one. But this key, it doesn't just open a door. It unlocks, three completely different high-end culinary worlds.
Right. Behind door number 1, you have, the classic Éclair.
The elegant, cream-filled Éclair, yeah, the kind you see in a Parisian window. Then behind door number 2, the indulgent ice cream-stuffed profiterole swimming in hot chocolate sauce.
And behind door number 3, something totally different.
Completely. A savory, cheesy, hot appetizer that pairs perfectly with, a glass of champagne.
And usually if you told someone they were going to make all 3 of those, they'd assume, 3 different recipes and probably a culinary degree to pull it off.
Exactly. It sounds like a weekend-ruining amount of work.
Mm.
But today we are unpacking a masterclass that proves otherwise. We are doing a deep dive into the world of pâte choux.
Which is really just the fancy French term for cabbage paste.
Wait, cabbage paste?
Yeah, literally. Because when these little puffs bake up,
Yeah.
they sort of look like tiny irregular cabbages. But don't let the name fool you. This stuff is the Swiss Army knife of baking.
Our source material for this is a great demonstration by Martha Stewart. And the mission of this deep dive is, I think, pretty simple. We want to move you from being, scared of fancy French baking to completely understanding the physics of the puff.
Mm.
Because, and this just blew my mind, this entire pastry empire is built on just four humble pantry staples.
That's it. Water, butter, salt, and flour. That is the base.
It feels like a magic trick. You mix these boring ingredients and suddenly you have this hollow, crispy, golden thing. So let's unpack the science first. How on earth does this thing rise? There's no yeast, no baking powder.
Nothing. It's purely mechanical.
Well, mechanical.
It's all about moisture. This is what we call a high moisture dough. The lift comes entirely from steam.
Okay.
So when you put that dough into a hot oven, and it has to be hot, she says 375 Fahrenheit, the water trapped inside rapidly turns to gas.
So it's the water trying to escape.
Exactly. It turns to steam and expands, pushing the dough outward. And because the flour has created this gluten structure, it traps the steam like a little balloon.
Wow.
It creates that hollow cavity right in the center just before the outside sets into a crust.
So it's basically a steam engine made of flour.
That is a perfect analogy. It is a steam engine. But because it relies so much on that balance, moisture, and structure,
Yeah.
the ratios are critical.
Right.
You can't just eyeball it. Martha says you have to get the proportions pretty exact.
Yeah, she showed examples of what happens when you get it wrong. She held up this sad, dense little rock of a pastry.
Right. If you have too much flour, the dough's just too heavy. The steam pushes, but the walls won't budge.
And so you just get a lump.
You get a heavy, doughy lump with no hollow center. And, well, the whole point is that it's a container for delicious things. If it's solid, it's useless.
Okay, so we get the concept.
Yeah.
Now, the process, because this part is weird, it goes against, everything I know about baking.
It really does. Usually you mix stuff, put it in a pan, bake it. Here, you cook the dough on the stovetop first. This step is called making the panade.
The panade. So why are we cooking flour in a pot?
You're gelatinizing the starches. You start by boiling your water, your butter, a little salt.
Right.
And once that's at a rolling boil, you dump in all the flour.
And she's very clear. All at once. No gentle sifting.
Nope. All at once. Then you stir like crazy. By cooking it, you're essentially helping the flour absorb more water without turning into a soup.
And you cook it for, 3 to 4 minutes? There's a visual cue you're looking for?
The film.
The film, yes.
You want to see a thin film of that dough forming on the bottom of the pan. That tells you you've cooked out enough excess moisture.
So the dough starts to pull away from the sides.
Exactly. It becomes a cohesive ball.
Mm.
And that step is crucial for what comes next.
Okay, so you have this hot ball of dough. Now comes what I'm calling the scary moment. The eggs.
And this is where you need patience. You absolutely have to let that dough cool down a bit.
Which makes sense. Hot dough plus raw eggs equals...
Breakfast, you get scrambled eggs inside your pastry.
Which Martha calls unacceptable.
Highly unacceptable. Yeah. So you put it in a mixer bowl, paddle it for a minute to release some steam.
Okay.
And then you add the eggs one by one. And this is where the texture crisis happens.
This is the part where if I were doing this alone, I would 100% assume I've ruined it.
Oh, yeah. You add that first egg and the whole thing just falls apart.
It looks like a disaster. It gets wet and breaks into these slippery, separate segments.
It looks like it will never come back together.
It's so slimy.
It is slimy. That's the butterfat and the water from the eggs fighting.
Yeah.
But you have to trust the process. You just keep mixing.
You just keep going.
And miraculously, it re-emulsifies. It comes back together into this smooth, silky golden dough.
And then you add the next egg, and the crisis happens all over again.
Every single time. You just have to have faith. By that last egg, you have this glossy, perfect, pipeable dough.
And she mentions that once it's made, it's actually pretty forgiving, right?
Very forgiving. You can let it sit for hours, covered. You can even pipe it onto the baking sheets and let it hang out for a couple hours before baking.
That's great for a dinner party.
A lot of flexibility.
Okay, so let's talk shaping. This is where our master key starts to open the different doors. How do we get an Éclair versus a cream puff?
It's all in the piping bag. Martha recommends a big canvas one.
Not the stiff plastic ones.
Right, this dough is thick. You need to be able to get a good grip. And here's a tiny but brilliant tip she gives.
Okay.
Before you pipe, put a little dot of dough under the corners of your parchment paper.
Oh, that's so smart. It glues the paper to the baking sheet.
Exactly, so it doesn't slide around while you're trying to pipe.
That's a game changer right there.
It really is. So for Éclairs, you're piping 3-inch logs. She warns against making them too long, like 5 inches.
Why? I feel like I've seen giant Éclairs.
You have, but in a home oven. If they're too big, they can get unstable. They might bend or stay raw in the middle. 3 inches is the sweet spot.
And for cream puffs.
Just round mounds. Simple.
Now, my piping skills are, let's just say, not great. I always get that little pointy tip on top.
The little Hershey Kiss tip.
Yeah. And those burn, right?
They do. They turn into little wicks. But the solution is super high-tech.
What is it?
A wet finger.
A wet finger, that's it.
That's it. Dip your finger in cold water, gently tap down the points. The water keeps the dough from sticking.
Simple.
Then you brush on an egg wash for that nice glossy finish.
And then into the oven. And here's the cardinal rule. If you remember nothing else, remember this.
Do not open the oven door.
Never.
Never. Don't peek. Don't rotate.
Yeah.
You need that steam to stay trapped in there. If you open that door, the temperature drops.
And they collapse.
They collapse into sad little pancakes.
Yeah.
And they will not rise again. It is heartbreaking.
A true tragedy. So you just watch through the glass?
Watch through the glass.
Okay, so 25 minutes later, the door stayed shut. We have these golden hollow shells. Now for the fun part, the fillings.
Yes. And Martha goes classic French with a creme pâtissière. Pastry cream.
The gold standard.
It really is. It's richer than pudding, more stable than whipped cream.
Yeah.
It starts with milk, sugar, and she uses a real vanilla bean.
Oh, yeah, you got to scrape the seeds.
That's where the flavor is. But there's a technique here called tempering that can freak people out.
I'm one of those people. Whenever I read temper the eggs, I start to sweat.
It sounds so technical, but it's really just about being, polite to the eggs.
Polite to the eggs. I like that.
You have hot milk on the stove, and your egg yolks in a bowl. If you just dump the eggs in, they'll scramble.
Right.
So tempering just means you pour a little bit of the hot milk into the eggs while whisking constantly. You're just gently warming them up.
Getting them used to the heat.
Exactly. Then you can pour that whole mixture back into the pot to thicken.
And here's where she does something really cool. Because pastry cream, it can be a bit of a gut bomb. It's dense.
It can be. So she has this amazing trick to lighten it up.
What is it?
She whips up some heavy cream separately, mixed whipped cream, and then she folds that into the cooled pastry cream.
Oh, wow.
Then you get all the rich flavor, but the texture becomes airy and fluffy. It lightens the whole thing.
That's brilliant. And she had one other tip for storing it, the plastic wrap.
Ah, yes. If you just put it in the fridge, it gets a rubbery skin on top.
No, thank you.
No, you have to press the plastic wrap directly onto the surface of the cream. No air gaps.
Got it. Okay, so we filled the Éclairs. But the topping is not just chocolate. She makes a maple espresso glaze.
This sounded incredible. It's heavy cream, powdered espresso, maple syrup, and sifted confectioner's sugar.
Sifted. She was very specific about sifting.
It's so lumpy otherwise. You'd get these little white specks in your beautiful dark glaze. You want it thick, shiny, and bright.
So that's door number 1, the Éclair. But now, the showstopper. The profiterole.
This is the one you serve when you really want to impress people. It's basically a cream puff that went to finishing school.
So it's a plated dessert?
Exactly. You don't pipe filling in. You slice the top off the puff horizontally.
Like a little hamburger bun.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And inside, a massive scoop of homemade vanilla ice cream. But here is the pro tip that saves the dinner party.
Okay.
You assemble them, and then you pop the whole thing back in the freezer for a few minutes.
That is genius. So the ice cream doesn't just melt instantly.
Right. It gets nice and hard. Then, right before serving, you dust it with powdered sugar and put it in a bowl. And you serve it swimming in a moat of warm chocolate sauce.
Swimming in a moat. That is the energy I want to bring to my life. It's hot, cold, crispy, creamy. It's everything.
It's a texture masterpiece. It hits every single note.
Okay, but we aren't done. We promised 3 doors. We've done sweet, we've done frozen. Now, the savory twist. The gougère.
My personal favorite.
Mm.
And the amazing part is, it's the exact same base dough. You boil the water, add the flour, cook it, cool it, add the eggs. Identical.
So at what point does it become savory? When does the cheese go in?
You add the cheese while the dough is still warm, after you've cooked it on the stove. Martha uses a blend, a lot of Gruyere, and a bit of Parmesan.
That's a significant amount of cheese.
It is, but she doesn't stop there. She adds chopped dill, chives, a pinch of paprika, and fresh nutmeg.
Nutmeg in a cheese puff. That feels unexpected.
It's actually a very classic French pairing, nutmeg and dairy. Think about a good bechamel sauce. It just brings out the nuttiness of the cheese.
I never would have thought of that.
It's a subtle background note that makes it taste expensive.
And you just pipe these into little mounds.
Little mounds, maybe sprinkle a little extra cheese on top.
Yeah.
And the serving suggestion here is non-negotiable.
What is it?
You must serve them hot.
Hot out of the oven.
Immediately.
Mm.
When they're soft and steamy and cheesy, she suggests serving them with champagne. The perfect hors d'oeuvre.
It really is incredible. We started with water, butter, flour, and eggs. And from that one pot, we got 3 completely different experiences.
That's the magic of it. Pâte Choux is just a neutral vessel, a blank canvas.
But I think that's the biggest takeaway. The difference between buying frozen cream puffs and making this at home, it's not just about being fancy, it's about texture.
Absolutely. A store-bought puff is often soggy. A fresh one is crisp on the outside and so airy on the inside. That contrast is everything.
And you can freeze the raw dough. You can have a bag of piped gougères in your freezer and just pop them in the oven when guests arrive.
It's high reward for relatively low effort once you get over the fear of that texture crisis.
So we've covered the classics: sweet cream, chocolate glaze, cheese. But this is where it gets really interesting for me. If this dough really is just a neutral canvas, why stop there?
That is the question.
The base dough has almost no sugar in it. It's a blank slate.
The structure is there. The hollow cavity is there. You just have to decide what to fill it with.
So here is a provocative thought for you to chew on. What other profiles could you invent that break tradition? Could you mix curry powder into the dough and fill it with a spiced lentil puree? Could you do an Earl Grey glaze with the lemon curd filling?
Ooh, or a black pepper dough filled with a smoked salmon mousse.
Exactly. The canvas is yours. The physics of the puff will work no matter the flavor. So grab some butter and flour and see what you can create. Thanks for listening to this deep dive.
Happy baking.